I built up walls like mansions to the sky. Protect my heart so it would survive. But you climbed in like no one else could do. The day I knew I needed you, I was drifting out, safe from any shore. Didn't want to get hurt anymore, but you pulled me in like no one else could do. The day I knew I needed you. I was complicated, you made perfect sense. I was slowly breaking, but you knew how to mend. We're searching for some answers, who I was and where I'm running to. I was looking for me when I found you. When I found you. When I found. Felt familiar the moment that we met. Tried to block it out so I forget. Your persistence kept on pushing through. The day I knew I needed you. I was complicated, you made perfect sense. I was slowly breaking, but you knew how to mend. We're searching for some answers, who I was and where I'm running to. I was looking for me when I found you. When I found you. You saved me, changing my direction. I'm falling into our connection. I was complicated, you made perfect sense. I was slowly breaking, but you knew how to mend. We're searching for some answers, who I was and where I'm running to. I was looking for me when I found you. When I found you. When I found you. When I found you. When I found you.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head. Just like a seed in a garden, you will grow to be tall, staring out over miles of land without it, but wanting to build up walls. Lift me up in your branches, we can watch the sunrise. restart. We are born again. Open your heart and spend less time in your head. With every start, we are born again. Open your heart and spend less time in your head.
With you, the sun is shining 24/7. 'Cause when we're together, it feels like we're in heaven. If it will get dark, you'll be my million stars. I know I can lean on you. Oh, you catch me like a leaf falling from a tree. If I'll be a shooting star, you make a wish. No, I don't fake this kind of feeling, never felt so real. My heart is on the table 'cause you're my everything. I do. I wanna marry you. 'Cause when you're around, I know it's true. The way you make me feel is so good, baby. So good, so good. Every single day we spend apart, I wanna be with you. Baby, take my hand, hold it tight just like you do. Feels so good, so good. When I wake up in the morning and I see your face, I'm becoming blind by your dazzling grace. What a beautiful feeling to be close to you. There's nothing else I wanna do. Ooh, and from the fields of flowers you chose to pick me. You're spreading sugar on my misery. And I don't fake this kind of feeling, never felt so real. My heart is on the table 'cause you're my everything. I do. I wanna marry you. 'Cause when you're around, I know it's true. The way you make me feel is so good, baby. So good, so good. Every single day we spend apart, I wanna be with you. Baby, take my hand, hold it tight just like you do. Feels so good, so good. And I do, I wanna marry you. 'Cause when you're around, I know it's true. The way you make me feel is so good, baby. So good, so good. Every single day we spend apart, I wanna be with you. Baby, take my hand, hold it tight just like you do. Feels so good, so good.
Good evening. This is Photo Mentor TV, and tonight I'm going to show you some work from your fellow photographers, and also give you some insight on how you can learn to see like an artist. Hi, thanks for joining me tonight. And if it's your first time, I'm Lee Love, commercial photographer and head photo mentor here at Photo Mentor Academy. And I believe this is show number 92, I think. Wow, we're really getting up there, aren't we? Almost at 100. It's amazing. And it's also amazing that it's actually November 1st. Hard to believe that as well. I want to thank the members of Photo Mentor Academy and also the members of our Facebook group for allowing me to use some of the images you saw in the open. I really appreciate it. I enjoy you guys so much, and I certainly enjoy being part of your journey. So thank you very, very much. And looks like I need to update that, though. I need to got a whole bunch of new images I need to put in there, so I'm going to work on that here in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, we've got a lot going on tonight. Again, first Tuesday of the month, we always do, again, as you already know, photo reviews, first Tuesday of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The idea behind this is really to help you guys learn to see better, learn to become better photographers. The way I do these reviews, this is your first time, it's not a technical review, although I can certainly get technical, and sometimes I will. It's not about being nitpicky. I notice a lot of people were like, oh, you should do this, you should move that. Sometimes I'll make those suggestions, but that's not really the purpose of these reviews, and it's not about the gear. The way I do this is I use the 7 elements of art as the guidelines for looking at your work and to see what kind of story they tell. And so it's not really about whether I like it or not. I mean, look, you can get all kinds of likes you want from your mom and your grandmom and everybody else on Facebook, but that's not what this is about. My goal here is to help give you some insight into looking at your images a little bit differently, how to see them like an artist, and how to learn better storytelling. That's the purpose of doing these photo reviews. So, and tonight I will do, I'll show you images. If this is your first time, you'll see how this works. I'll show you some images, and then I'll give you some insight into maybe some things you want to look at or consider. These are just my recommendations. You can make any decision you want, of course, it's your work. And then I may show you a little bit of post-processing thing you can do to maybe improve them. But let me be clear. My goal is not to teach you post-processing, but to teach you post-processing. And it's also not to teach you that you can shoot in RAW and fix it in post-processing. A lot of people teach that. That is not what I teach. I don't believe in that. I believe in using post-processing to complete the image and give it the look and the feel that you're looking for. And certainly there are times when I have fixed images that I've made mistakes on or things like that. But the goal is to learn to do it in camera first. Then you have a lot more flexibility, because nobody wants to sit in front of a computer for hours and hours and weeks, unless you're, of course, studying to be a retoucher. Then maybe that's what you want to do. But for most of us, that's not. We enjoy the shooting part, not necessarily the post-processing part. So anyway, before we get into that, though, a couple announcements I want to make. One is I want to announce we are just about ready for Sue Ann's social media marketing for photographers course that she has put together. This is really, really exciting. Something she's been working really, really hard on, and I know you guys are definitely going to enjoy this. And there's a webinar, free webinar, that's available, that you can go to this URL right here, and which is photomentoracademy.com/social media. Clever, huh? Social media. And sign up and just put your name and your email in there. We're not going to share you or spam you with it. But what will happen then is you're going to get notified as soon as the webinar goes live, which is really any day now. We're pretty much just putting the final touches on, a couple little tweaks, but it's really going to be good. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. It's a lot of good information. And so anyway, Photo Mentor Academy /social media. And again, you'll get an email. It's going to give you some information. Also, it's going to be, if you sign up for, there's going to be some details, some registration and things for you, some bonus stuff that Sue Ann's got ready for you. So anyway, you want to do that, just go to, again, photomentoracademy.com/social media, and you'll get that email right away. And then in the next 48 hours, I think, or less, you will get the link to the webinar when it goes live, which is very, very soon. A couple things that I wanted to mention to you, though. When we did the webinar, there were a couple of questions that I thought were important to ask, and I thought there were questions that you would be asking. And these are the kind of the things, we go well beyond this, but these are the three basics that we try to address in the webinar. The questions that I had, which is number one, why should I even use social media? And of course, my joke is nobody cares about what I had for breakfast and posting photos of it, or what I'm at, or where I'm going, or what I'm doing. And so that was one question that she did a great job of answering. The next one I had a question about was, okay, great, you convinced me I need to be on social media. Now what platform do I use? I mean, there's a gazillion of them, right? Which one makes sense? And this is where she really does a deep dive on this and gives you a lot better information than I could ever do. And then the other question I had, which is, okay, great. So you've convinced me I need to be on social media. Now you've given me some insight as to which platform I should be on. But, you know, I kind of have a life. I don't want to just spend all of it on social media, posting all the time. So I asked her, how do you keep up with this stuff? And she does a really good job of giving us some insight on that as well. So you guys are going to really enjoy this. Again, it's free, and I encourage you to go ahead and sign up for it. photomentoracademy.com/social media, and that you should get some information on that shortly. Let's see what else. A couple other things. If you guys are not familiar, we also have I also do a kind of game, if you want to call it that, to kind of help you learn how to see and improve your observation skills. And that game is available to you. I try and do one a week if possible on Monday, but you can go to Photo Academy /game, and that will take you to that. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's free. You can have some fun with that. So anyway, all right, I think that's about all of the announcements. Let's get into a couple of the cool reviews that we're going to do tonight. The first one, let's see, this one is a pretty cool picture, I think. This is an image that was submitted. And by the way, you guys, if you don't know, if this is your first time, I always do these anonymously, not for any real reason, except that if you're embarrassed, I don't want to be embarrassed to submit your photos. So this way no one knows it's your photo if you don't want to tell anybody. And also, if you're just starting out, I don't want people to be intimidated. This is not a contest. No awards, no prizes. This is really to help you. So it's kind of like golf in that regard. You're only playing against yourself, which I'm not really a golfer, but anyway. So this was submitted by OT. OT submitted a number of images before. They've been photographing about 5 years. And the thing, I asked some questions when you submit your photos, by the way. And one of them is, what do you struggle with? And I love OT's answer. It was creativity. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we all struggle with that. Welcome to the club. It's an ongoing battle. Believe me, as long as I've been doing this, it's still something that I struggle with. So creativity is an up and down thing that we all go through. So you're not alone. But anyway, so the background behind this photo is they're working on some still life trying to create some moody photography with lighting. And of course, since it's fall, they wanted to use some items they had laying around the house. So I think this is a really good image, a great start on this image. There's a couple of things I would suggest, but generally speaking, I applaud your efforts on this. This is a great way to start. And I think you have, as you'll see some of the other images, I think you have a real knack for product photography, and I would encourage you to stick with that. So a couple of things on this image that I think could be maybe a little better or thing. So one of the things that I always point out to people is our job is to direct a person's viewpoint. And of course, Stephen Pinker here says it best. Art of photography is all about directing the attention of the viewer, right? So that's our job here, is to try and pick tell the person viewing the image where we want them to look. What's the most important thing? You guys will hear, if you've talked to me at all about this, watched any of the reviews, you'll know I refer to this as the hero of the shot. Hero isn't necessarily a person. It could be an object, a subject, whatever. So this image here is better than the one that I saw posted on social media because it's a little better quality. But still, you have a little bit of the same issue, and it's a little busy, and I'm not quite sure what you want me to look at. So let me show you some another version of this. Where is my where's my computer thing here? Come on. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is it brought up on the system here. I think I can do full screen. Yeah, zoom to fit. Okay. All right. So the first thing that I noticed on this image is this leaf over here. Boy, my eye went right to that. And of course, it's partially because it's the brightest object in the frame, which is our eyes will always go to the lightest or brightest object in a frame. That's kind of just the way the mind works. So that is something you want to watch. Now, obviously, you probably have a lot more light coming from that direction. It may be a little closer to the light. I'm not sure. Maybe a window light. But the other thing is, so that would be something that would be nice to tone down. Now, the way you would do that, let's say you want to do this, you don't have you're not using, maybe using window light or whatever. There's something called a flag. And a flag is really, it can be anything, really. Just a piece of paper. Generally, we'll use like black, piece of cardboard, and just put this in front of the object that you're trying to block the light in front of. Okay, so let's say you're trying to block the light from here. Okay, you just put this over here, and you'll see. You can a little bit see how it kind of blocks a little bit of the light. That's why black is better. It's a negative fill. And that will help control the lighting on the objects without having to have additional light or anything like that. So if you take this, what's called a flag, again, piece of black cardboard, foam core, something like that, kind of put it in front of the window or your light source and the object, that will tone that down. Also, I would suggest that you turn it a little bit to the right so that the word grateful is a little more visible. Oh, here, let me go back to this again. Okay, so it's a little more visible. So, in other words, the brain kind of fills in what the rest of the word would be. So just, T-E-F-U-L, I can sort of figure it out. But if this was turned a little bit and the word great was there, I would probably know it. The word is grateful that fills that in. It also might help you tone down this leaf a little bit. The same kind of thing with the words blessed, which is really clever. Again, I might turn those a little bit toward the light, a little bit more toward the right, and so that they're a little more obvious. Now, if you want to get, I know that you don't do editing, and I'm not, this is, again, as I said before, this is not intended to show you how to do editing, but just so you, because what I'm trying to do here is to get you to see what it might look like, and you don't have to do editing to do this, using flags and things like that I'm talking about. Reflectors, a little piece of white foam core would do the opposite, would bounce light into an area that you want it. So let me show you kind of what this might look like. This is what it looks like by default. And then this is what it might look like if you tone down the leaves a little bit. And then this might be what it looks like a little bit if you're just to put a little more light on these objects right here. And so these gourds or whatever I guess they're gourds or some kind of cookie jars or something, would then stand out a little bit more if you were to kind of put a little more light on. And again, so it doesn't have to be complicated, right? But you can see now what I'm talking about. And when I say it doesn't have to be complicated, believe me, I have used all kinds of things for product photography. You could use a flashlight. So if you leave the lens open, if you have a tripod, close the lens down, lower your ISO so you get, and you know, so you get a little, need more light so the shutter can stay open longer. Open that shutter, take a flashlight, take an iPhone, the light from your iPhone, whatever, and just paint a little bit on there where you want that light to fall. It's a fun experiment. You'll really, if you were to look into some serious product photography, you're going to find that these guys use little mirrors, lights, all kinds of little gadgets to throw light where they want. The other thing I'll tell you is that okay, I'm going to give you a little secret here about product photography. I mean, maybe I should wait till I think you have another image here. Let me see. Maybe I should wait. Anyway, a secret in product photography. Here, start looking at this now and see if you don't notice this. Almost all product photography, not all, but almost all product photography, especially food, is lit from the back. The light comes from the rear or from the left or right, lights and kind of at an angle, lights the subject, and then they'll use a reflector to bounce just a little bit of light into the foreground. And that will tend to give you more control over your light. Because if you see what's happening here, you don't have much control, right? That was the problem. And so to be able to do that, so be able to have more control, if you light it from the rear and then use that light to bounce it into the front of the subject, you'll find it really gives you a lot more control over your image. So anyway, good job. Don't take this as wrong. I just, but the leaf and the fact that it's kind of all lit the same is a little bit, you know, kind of distracting. But you're on the right track, so stick with it, please. Okay. Let's see. We got any questions on this? Sue Ann, Brian. Look at the list. Okay. All right, cool. All right, good. All right, let me go to the next one here. And the next one is, where is the next? It's not here. That's not it. Where is it? Okay, let's try it this way. Okay, so this next one is an amazing shot. Did an excellent job on this one, I might mention. This is also from OT, and their comment was they shot this image because they wanted their grandson to get in with intent to get some good photos of him to document his first year of football. You definitely nailed this one. Totally nailed it. And I'll tell you, you nailed the most important thing in sports photography. And I'll show you here what this one looks like, I think. Yeah. So let me, so when you look at the key to sports photography is right here, the eyes. You want to do everything you can to include those eyes. The eyes give you that emotion. And so if you look at this, those eyes really is what makes this image work, in my opinion. Of course, the black and white, the intensity is really nice. It's a very graphical, but it's the eyes that really, really work in this image. And just an excellent job. Very, very impressive. Now, if I were going to be a little bit picky, and I'm saying, and I honestly mean this picky, I wouldn't change a thing. But it's this Rydell thing kind of bothers me a little bit. Again, this is just if it were me, I might try and tone that down a little bit. or I might try and remove it altogether. Because then again, it distracts a little bit from the face and the eyes. It's not a big deal. Okay. I wouldn't, it's not a must. I'm just something that I was saying you could do if you wanted. So, but anyway, this is an excellent image. Great job. You really, I applaud you for this one here. It's just an excellent, and your work is just getting better and better. I love seeing the stuff you guys are submitting. I've seen the work that you've done over the year or so, and it just keeps improving, and it's very impressive. So keep it up. Okay, the next one is equally as impressive. Not quite, almost though. And this is this again, same thing. This is also from OT, and they want to take some photos of their grandchildren, but they didn't want to give up because it was rainy and windy, too much noise, and played hard, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a real tip here. So first of all, if you think about professional sports photographers, right? They have the gear necessary. You can get an inexpensive rain cover for your equipment. It's not that difficult. If you know you're going to be out in the rain, just keep the rain off of it. But what you're going to find is while everybody else is putting their camera away, you're finding you're out there shooting. You're going to get the best shots. And I think this is an example of that. It's just a phenomenal picture. With the rain in her face and it's just the expression. You could probably a little more expression on this one maybe, but I don't know what she's thinking. But the fact that it's still raining, you're out there. This is again, it's not quite as impressive as the football photo, but it's definitely there. So my point is, where I applaud you is that you're out there in the rain shooting, and that is what you need to do. Just because it's raining doesn't mean you want to go inside. It's like snow skiing is the way I always looked at it, right? Or motorcycle. We used to motorcycle, people would say, well, don't get cold. What are you doing when it rains? Well, you gear up for it, just like you do when you're snow skiing or anything else. It's the same thing with photography. Bring the gear you need to cover your gear, but get out there and shoot. And I promise you're going to find amazing images that no one else is going to get because they're afraid to be out in the rain. So totally wonderful image there, and I encourage you to keep that up. So good job on that one, OT. Okay. Let's see. The next one. Okay. This one was this is done by PS. PS has been shooting about 3 to 4 years, and they had just purchased a Tamron 70-200 2.8 G2 Generation 2 lens, and they were testing it out on a camping trip. Now, most of us, by the way, test new gear out on our pets. Seems like, our cats or dogs or whatever seem like they're always the ones that get photographed. You get these sour looks from them, like, really, you're taking my picture again? But anyway, so this duck look like they're having some fun out there. So so good job on that one. So yeah, it's a great lens. I've shot that lens. I've shot the Sigma version, the Nikon version, and the Canon version, and they're all terrific lenses. It's definitely something to have. 70-200 2.8 is kind of one of the 3 lenses that you're going to want in your bag. And I'll do a little quick story. I bought my first one back when I was moving from film to digital in 2004, and I think I paid about $1,800 for it, which is a lot of money, still a lot of money. And I kept it till like 9 months ago. I still, I only sold it because I wanted to upgrade to the version 2. And I got the version 2, and guess what? I couldn't tell any difference. They look the same to me. So it's one of those lenses that you will always have, and it's just a great investment. And that's why you have to look at it. So anyway, 70-200 2.8. Okay, so on the image here, good image. I understand it's just a test image. You're kind of playing around. If you're going to look at it from an aesthetic standpoint to try and maybe to improve a little bit, there are a couple things you could do. You could, let's see if I can find this here. Yeah. Okay, what you could do is, again, so try not to, you're probably, just learning this lens, and I understand the focus point, but try and not always put things in the center of the frame. So in other words, if you were to crop this image from the top and put more of the foreground in the image, it would be a little more interesting, because then you have the lake and the water that draws the viewer to the duck. So that would be one suggestion. Again, I'm not trying to show you guys how to do post-processing, but I'm just trying to show you a perspective of what would happen. So this is a little bit of enhancement on the color on this one. But the other thing you could do is put a little bit of, you could darken the background a little bit around the outside, keep the duck the same exposure, but just a little bit what they call dodging and burning. So you just darken a little bit of the background around there, but the duck stays the same, and it just draws your attention. Again, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to direct the viewer's eye. That's the key. It's not we're post-processing just to post-process. We're trying to figure out what distracting item we don't need in the frame. And a lot of people don't realize, and I say this over and over, a lot of photography is elimination, not adding. People think they need it. They'll do these wide shots with these big people in these fields and things like that. No, you want to eliminate that. You want to draw the viewer to the attention of what's the most important, what you're trying to get them to look at. And of course, in this case, it's the duck. So that would be one thing you could do to make the image just a little bit more interesting and to draw the viewer in just a little bit. Okay. So let's see what else we got. The next one. This is a good image. This was submitted by PS as well, and they were paid to shoot for some friends, and they wanted something a little different, give them in their gallery, and the lighting was really bad with heavy shade and sun lighting in the background and the water behind them. So they decided to do a silhouette, and I think that's an excellent idea, because that shows that you're thinking. You're solving problems. And again, I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this. If you followed me at all, photography is almost all about solving problems. And this is a good example, right? We get there, the light's bad, the light's good, whatever, it's raining, whatever the situation may be, and that you're getting paid especially, that's the most important thing. So therefore, you have to make a decent image. And so you solve this problem by saying, hey, let's use a silhouette. Let's be a little more artistic. Excellent way to solve this problem. The other thing you did really nicely in this image is this framing. So by using the trees as the foreground, you've used what's called framing or windowing the couple. And so again, that uses that to draw their attention. You could actually even come a little more to the right and crop the image a little more to the right and make it even more a little more like that. So, and I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. Okay. So, here is my edit, what you could do with this. So what I did is I cropped a little bit at the top, a little more on the left-hand side to try and, you can see, bring it in a little closer and take a little of this distracting. Because again, while the background is nice, it is a little bit distracting, and they're the most important thing in the subject, in the frame. And so therefore you want people to see that and be drawn to that. So that's the way I would do it. The other thing is, now again, I keep saying this, I'm not trying to tell you got to fix your images in post, because that's not the way to do it. And this would be a little bit difficult to do in the camera unless you were thinking it through and maybe you had them kneel down or you could stand up. But one of the things you could do is you could eliminate that completely. So just by what I did here is just cloned it or added it. And now you can see it's even a stronger image, I believe, because now it's just the couple. Okay. And the other thing you could have done maybe is is possibly, and I think if you're shooting with that 7200, maybe zoom in a little bit, get a little closer, and just crop the couple, their faces a little bit, and make that a silhouette. And that might have also thrown this background out of focus a little more. So, anyway, nice job. Good thinking on that. I applaud you for that. You're really, again, this is not about fixing problems. It's not about making it perfect. It's not about trying to tell you did it right or wrong. I'm trying to get you to think and to see a little bit differently. And that's why I do this post-processing work, to show you maybe how you could fix those problems, not in post necessarily, but on location. Be thinking about that. Look through that viewfinder. Oh, that background, it's really nice, but it's bright. I find that most of the time, unless you're doing a silhouette like this, you want a darker background. I always try and look for a darker background than the foreground. And that will usually make the subject stand out a little more. Now, in this situation, it worked to your advantage by doing the brighter background. So anyway, but good job on that. Again, I applaud you. So nice situation there. And so good thinking on your feet, in my opinion. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Well, I've got, I think, maybe one or two more. Okay. So here's the next one. This one here is our little buddy Froggy. This one was submitted by Essay. Now, Essay's only been shooting about a year, a little less than a year. So this is pretty good. And they don't do any editing yet, which is fine. Listen, Essay, you do not have to do editing to fix your images. It just helps you sometimes in taking your vision and making it completing it. In fact, there's a quote by Ansel Adams that I'm will often use, and that is, I'll destroy it, but basically it goes something like, the negative is the score and the print is the performance. And what he's trying to say there is that shooting the picture is only half of it. It's the post-processing, the dodging, burning, what you do in the lab to bring that image to where you want it to be, to the feeling you want it to be. So for me, it's all about toning, and that's why I don't make too many. That's why you'll notice when I do these reviews, I don't critique that too much, because it's all very personal. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with it, so therefore, I can't tell you if it's right or wrong. I can only tell you compositionally maybe how you can make the image stronger. But anyway. So this is I think this is a great image here. You did a nice job. I assume you used the 7200 on this one maybe. Depth of field is really shallow. It's a sharp image. You did technically, it was really good. But the main thing I love about this one is technically you did a nice job on it. So it's also compositionally it's really good. By putting the frog at the upper top of the frame instead of just in the middle and using the rock to outline. Now what happens is, you tell me, right? The eye goes directly to the frog. There's no looking left, right, whatever. Even though there's a little bit of white, lighter background, that's something secondary. Your eye goes right to that frog. So the composition on this was really good. Really nice image, sharp. And of course, the subject is good with the lighter green mouth. Again, draws your eye to that. So not really any suggestions on this one. I think you did, you nailed it, really. So I think that may be, here's one more. Okay, we got this, the last one. Okay, so this one was submitted also by Essay, I think. Yeah. And they liked the pose. They felt the hand and her arm was kind of lost in the background. I agree with you there. And I'll make some comments on that in a minute. It's a natural light, big in a gully. I have no idea where the focus point was, but it looked like it's in focus. There's no problem there. And her hair is soft. She said she didn't crop it. I think it could be better, large part of the tree background. Okay. Forgot her chainsaw that day. Oh, now that's problem solving, but I'm not sure I'd go that far. Okay, good one on that one, Essay. Okay, nice image. Good. I loved where you're thinking here. See, the thing about this image is that works to me is you're thinking of a concept. You're thinking of something that goes along with the outfit, with the pose, what you're trying to tell a story. Now, maybe you didn't quite accomplish it. That's okay. It's the scene and the thinking and the storytelling that's most important. The rest of the stuff is so easy to fix. I know it doesn't sound like it. I know people go, yeah, but I don't know what to shoot at. I don't have trouble with exposure, lighting, but I'm telling you, that stuff is easy to fix. If you don't know how to see and you don't know what you're trying to see and you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, the rest of it does not matter. Okay, so I could fix this entire image with one light. And one light in 10 minutes or less, and it would be looking great. Okay, so here's what you should consider doing, and then I'll go into show you some post-processing ways to kind of help a little bit. But what you're looking at here is what's called contrast ratio. So you're dealing with lights and darks, and the camera can only pick up so much light and so much dark, right? So in other words, if you were to raise the exposure, open the aperture, lower the shutter speed, turn down the ISO, whatever you want to do to raise the exposure on the person, you know what's going to happen. The background's going to be blown out, or it's going to be all washed out. And that's not what you were trying to do. That's part of your image. So that's the difficulty there. So the way you solve that is you have to add more light on the subject. So a common thing that I always tell people to do is I expose for the background first. Now this is I don't mean to get too complicated, but try and follow me here. So here's an example. Put the camera on auto, program, shutter priority, aperture priority, whatever you want to put it on, it doesn't matter. Let's say you put it on aperture priority and you figure, okay, I'm going to be shooting at f4.5, 5.6, whatever it may be. Take a picture. Okay, then look at the back of the camera and look at what the camera thought the exposure needs to be. So you know it's going to be, what your aperture is going to be, let's say 5.6. Let's just pick f8. Okay, it's f8. Then there's going to pick a shutter speed, and it's probably going to pick an ISO based on what you had the ISO set up, unless you had it on auto. So now you know what the exposure, what the camera thinks that exposure is going to be. You can change it, right? You can go a wider aperture and a faster shutter speed, whatever it may be. What you're trying to do is you're just using the camera as a light meter. That's all you're doing. You're just trying to let the camera tell you what the proper exposure for that frame or that background is going to be. So let's just pick one. Let's just say the camera just said arbitrarily it was f8 at 1/25th of a second at ISO 400. Okay. What you can do then is you can go to, now I'm one of the guys that tell you don't shoot on manual, but in this case it makes sense because you don't want the camera to change. And that's why you're shooting on manual. You're going to lock that in. Go to manual, put the camera on f8, 1/25th, ISO 400. Exact same thing the camera told you that auto or aperture priority or whatever was, and take a picture. What you're going to find, it's going to be the exact same picture. It's going to look exactly the same. Nothing's going to be different. Now, you take your pop-up flash, which would be ideal if you don't have a flash, or an external flash, which would even be better, an off-camera flash, and now you set that up. You get somebody to hold it, put it on a light stand, on the ground, whatever, and you put that on manual, and you start at 1/4 power, maybe 1/8 power, manual and you take a shot, and you look at what this exposure is. If it's too bright, you dial down the flash a little bit. Instead of 1/8 power, maybe you want a 1/4 power or 1/16 of a power, I mean. If it's too dark, turn it up a little bit. Go to 1/4 power, 1/2 power. So what you're trying to do now, it's not complicated, but what you're trying to do is balance the exposure. You've got a setting for the background, right? That's what the camera told you. That's going to be locked in. That's not going to change. Then just turn the flash on and dial the flash up to expose provide the proper exposure on the person. It could be a cheap $49 flash. It doesn't have to be anything expensive at all. And I'm saying, in fact, you could probably use the pop-up flash in your camera and you'd be surprised at what it would do. Okay, so, whoops. Let me pull this other one up here. Okay. So here is what the image looks like that you natively that you sent it. And then here's what happens if you just bring up a little bit of exposure using post-processing. Again, this is one way to do it. It's not ideal, but because with a flash you could have done this in 2 seconds, and now with post processing you got to do a little bit more. But you could also maybe this log or this tree is really kind of cool. It draws you right to the person. You could even go in if you wanted and maybe manipulate that a little bit more. Draw the person right into something like that. Maybe you have to figure out what you think makes sense for you. But anyway, but just by the flash would have done the same thing, except it would have actually popped more, and made it look even more impressive than just doing it in post. That's the problem. See, with post you're a little bit limited. If you shot with it with the flash, then you could do both. So you have both the flash, and the if you with the flash, you have a lot more control and where you want that light to come from. So you could move it over, make it from front of her face. I should have put up a couple of images here. I could show you examples of what I'm talking about here. Let me see if I can find one real quick, if you guys don't mind, and then I will. I think I have one here. I can see if I can find one. So, but anyway, so I've said this to you guys before. Maybe if you're new here, you don't know. But I light everything I shoot, indoor, outdoor. And you're like, really? Why is that? And the reason is it gives me complete control over my situation. I can make it whatever I want. See, with this situation, you're kind of limited. And you're kind of going to get whatever you're going to get. Now, again, you can go in and do post-processing and spend hours and days monkeying with it. But the idea is not to have to do that. The idea is to, I guess I don't have that here. Thought I had that picture I could show you. Oh, well. Anyway, but if you look on my website, if you want, you can go to leelove.com. And you can look at some of those images there. You'll find that every single image there is lit. I'm pretty sure every single image is lit on there. Even the ones that don't look lit. In fact, you're going to find one of the first images I think on there is an image of a woman and a young girl walking down this lane at a farm. And that was lit. You're going to, really, it doesn't look lit, but it was. And that's because I balanced the lighting with the ambient light. So it's about a 50-50 mix. So I can make it look lit, or I can make it not look lit. And that's the beauty of using flash and understanding how to control that. And I promise you it's not that hard. I've got some courses and some, if you're on the YouTube site, go on there and look under the lighting playlist, and you'll find there's a bunch of videos on there that explain that. Okay, let's see here. Any questions, comments, or snide remarks? I don't see any here, so I think that's about it then. Again, let me just remind you guys, don't forget, sign up for the social media marketing for photographers, and you want to do that by going to photomentoracademy.com/social media. Put your name and email in there. You'll get a link to be able to where the webinar is, and I assure you're definitely going to get something good out of this. Sue Ann's amazing. I don't want to say too much because her head gets too big. Not really. She's very, very generous on that kind of stuff, but she really has taught me a lot about social media. And, overcame a lot of myths and misconceptions that I had about how it was supposed to work. And so, again, the things you're going to learn in the webinar are, why should I, even be on social media? And then the second thing is, of course, very important, which platform, if you are going to be on, which one? I mean, is TikTok right? Is it LinkedIn right? Is Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, which one? There's a bunch of them out there. And it's very, very important that you understand which one to use, because let's face it, we don't have a whole bunch of time to be spending on posting to 10,000 Facebook page or 10,000 social media sites. So you want to make sure that the one you're picking first, at least to start with, is the right one. You maybe be on one, but maybe it's not effective. Oh, excuse me, effective for you. So therefore, you want to pick one that's going to give you the most traction. And of course, then the other thing is once you do that, there's a bunch of tools that she's going to talk about that are on how to keep up with this stuff. A lot of them are free, and posting your images and scheduling them and that kind of stuff. So really, really cool. Okay, I think that's about it. Listen, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I really enjoyed doing it. Be sure and send your images in for reviews. You can go to review.photomentor.tv, or you can go to Photo Mentor Academy/photo reviews, either one of those, and submit your images there. And I think you guys will. I enjoy looking at your work, and hopefully you guys enjoy hearing my perspectives on this. So let me know. And again, until next first Tuesday of the month, we'll be doing this again. So.